Hi everybody, this is Alchemist2, and I'm back again with another movie review. A long time ago, Dad wanted to see Flight, simply because Denzel Washington was in it, and he and I are both really big Denzel Washington fans, and we just assumed that it was going to be a movie about a man who made this heroic landing, kind of like Sullenberger did in the Hudson. I don't know if it was based on that or not. I highly, highly, highly doubt it. But this might happen in reality. I'm not sure. It seems like it would. It's just I'm not certain if it's based off of real life events or not. I don't think it is, but it makes you question certain aspects like that. But basically, you've got this man, rather successful man named Whittaker, Captain Whittaker, and he seems to have quite a substance abuse problem from the very get-go. He abuses alcohol quite frequently, and he flies his plane drunk. He uses he disbars the uh, the trolley for the very beginning, and the only liquor that's accessible is by the flight crew. And he has two little Smirnoff bottles that are about that big. That's probably the worst kind of alcohol you can get because it's the highest proof. Um, I'm not going to say what happens next because that'll basically ruin the entire film, but it's an object lesson in addiction, basically, and it's kind of depressing. I did enjoy it though. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was spectacular or anything like the reviews are saying it is. It just sort of left me kind of sad, honestly. I thought that John Goodman's character was very detestable and grotesque and a pig, like his character says. He was a supplier to Whip, and it's interesting that his name was Whip because he was whipped by his addiction. Uh, I won't say what happens because, again, I really don't want to spoil the film if you're interested in going to see it because I think it's well worth seeing, especially if you have somebody who is thinking that they should give drugs a try or their peers are trying to get them to be cool and all that crap. Ugh, do you really want to go down that road? If you watch Whip's story, I guarantee you that'll probably scare a lot of people straight. Uh, my dad's side of the family, they have proclivities toward alcoholism, so to me this was a really good indicator why I'm staying away from alcohol and drugs, period, particularly alcohol. um, I'm not really sure what else to say about this movie other than it was pretty good. It was okay. It was sad. It was very tragic, and it just revealed a lot about family dynamics or lack thereof, and that of what addiction can do to a marriage. And then there was another character within the story named what was her name? I'm not able to remember her name. Dang it! I knew it was going to be important. Nicole. Yeah, her name was Nicole, and Nicole was a heroin addict, and she was also on the same road. She meets Whip later on in the hospital. They just meet by happenstance, and they meet another man who's suffering from cancer and smoking cigarettes. And he says that it's um, all an act of God that has led them to meet each other. And even the lawyer says that what has happened, what has transpired, is an act of God. And when it gets into the ethical part of it, that was the real chunk of the film that I enjoyed because I love ethics. And it's just very intriguing and how he later wrestles with himself whether he wants to continue lying to everybody, including to himself, about his issues. And it's just fascinating. I think it's just a real stark portrayal of just the problem of addiction. Um, it's an object lesson, in especially how you have the one who supplies, and then you have the user who is basically used up by what they thought was going to make them happy, but just leaves them in a further pit than when they first started. And Nicole learns this early on. And then later you have this uh, Whip's son, Will Jr. Um, they really don't see eye to eye, and he wants nothing to do with his father because his father is a belligerent drunk and can't control himself when he's on the bottle. And it's a very hard scene to watch when he comes into his ex-wife's house, and it's after all the events have happened, and I'm not going to say what happens because it'll give away, like I said, another part of the plot. Um, there were some plot holes. One of the plot holes was about his father. I don't know if he had a good relationship with his dad or not. It doesn't really reveal that. Um, I don't know whether he and Nicole got together at the end or not. It kind of hints at it in a very subtle, unambiguous, surreptitious way. And I just wasn't sure. Zemeckis does a good job, and I don't know if Zemeckis had somebody in his family who had problems or not, but maybe that's why he did this film, to reach out to those who do have issues and to get help. It's not considered a weakness to reach out and get help. That's one thing I can say. And it's challenging. It really is. It's really difficult in order to figure out what is needed to be done. And that's the only thing I can say about Flight and the main message behind it that I really enjoyed. But it ends on a high note. I Hi. That's kind of funny. No, I didn't mean to make that joke. I'm sorry, but yeah, high is probably one of the things you can say about the character of Whip throughout this whole film, and Nicole when they're going through their trips. And then they realize they need to go to rehab, but anyway, it ends on a happy note at the very end, and I won't say what happens or why, but those are the only two nagging plot holes that I saw were those, and the other thing, with one of the co-pilots, one of the stewardesses, I was kind of curious about that. They didn't really go into detail. Did he have a relationship with? I think maybe he did, because oh yeah, yeah they do kind of. Never mind. I answered that question myself because at the very beginning, it leads you to believe that he was having sowing wild oats with her. Well, they show it. It's just the full frontal nudity, and it's really there's nothing really objective about it. I mean, there's nothing. I wasn't offended by it. That doesn't bother me. I thought, why'd you even give it an R rating for that? But it's for the language. It's mainly language. A lot of strewings of the F word here and there, especially from John Goodman's character. But from the situation that they're coming from, it's understandable. So it makes sense for the types of characters that they were, and just their whole brashness and all that, and just how crude and profane they are. But as far as the movies are concerned, I would probably give it 3 stars at the most. I'll give it a thumb up. I'm not going to give it 2 thumbs up. It's not that good. I'm not sure why so many magazines and news columns were giving it just 4 stars, 5 stars. it's not that great. I mean, it's a good film. The very beginning is very, very tense, and it doesn't even end the way you think it would. It's not what you perceive. It's definitely a unique sort of film on its own, and I think it could happen within subjective reality. And if it has, then God help us. But it's just a lesson for us as Americans. We've become such a drug-ridden society, and we're contributing to our own ills, unfortunately. And it brings into question, what if we were like more like Amsterdam? Would we have less crime? Would there be fewer problems? Would it be easier just to give people their fix and not have to worry about it? Or again, ethics comes into that, and it's such a gray area, and it's very difficult to say what would become of our society. Well, Colorado's legalized marijuana. Um, Now, my stance on that is, I'm fine with that. I don't see anything wrong with it. God forgive me, but I mean, if it's being used to help people, then I'm all for it. I'm okay with that. And I know that there are going to be a lot of haters out there who say, "Oh, you're a hippie." Well, no, I'm not. Um, there are good and bad um, repercussions to this, but it's what would you rather give somebody, marijuana or a gun? I go for the marijuana, but that's just my preference. I mean, if I had a problem with pain, I would go for marijuana myself, but uh, that's a whole other topic. But it's just that this movie is one that makes you think, and it just brings up conversations such as this. And if you want to see it, then do so. I highly recommend that you do, especially if you're a fan of Denzel. And there's another character, I can't think of his name. He plays the lawyer, and he's outstanding. John Goodman is also very good in this, and you just want to hate him and slap him upside the head a few times and just choke him, as he's just such a jerk. But that was the character that he was playing, and to see him do that and do it well, that's the whole point. Uh, it's basically all I have to say about Flight. So if you haven't seen it yet, then I definitely think that you should, because it's certainly a lesson to us Americans, and hopefully we're awake and we'll learn sooner rather than later. That's all I can say.